probably over 20 seats in the 125-seat lower house. His opponent, Malcolm Fraser, has conceded defeat and has resigned as leader of the Liberal Party. Christopher Morris has been following Mr Fraser's fall from office. He saw both men cast their votes.
On the right, Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser, dedicated monetarist and great admirer of Mrs Thatcher and her style of government, who had campaigned against inflation, communism and the unions. On the left, Bob Hawke, the Labour Party leader and former trades union boss, pledged to save the economy, cut unemployment and bring Australia together, even if it meant putting the knife into Mr Fraser's constituency. At the tally room in Canberra, as the results came in, it soon became clear he'd pulled off a remarkable coup. All the more remarkable because Mr Hawke became leader of the Labour Party only 25 days ago, taking over from the politically lightweight Bill Hayden. Mr Fraser knew he could beat Mr Hayden. Once he'd gone, Mr Hawke in this presidential-style election was more than a match for the Prime Minister many Australians love to hate. But with more than half the votes counted, Mr Fraser stubbornly refused to concede defeat. Labour needed a swing of only just over 1%, and it wasn't long before a jubilant Mr Hawke was formally claiming victory, and later declaring the financial policies Mr Fraser copied from Britain will be thrown out to save Australia's ailing economy.
Well, it hasn't worked for you, it hasn't worked for us. There's a better way than that.
Mrs Thatcher might argue against that.
Yeah, Mrs Thatcher's got a few things going for her there on the other side of the fence, which I think will change. I don't think anyone's voted for her positively on a record. That is, unless the Brits are a little bit more masochistic than I believe them to be. I mean, I don't think people say, good, we've got 3 million unemployed and it looks like it's getting a bit worse. Please give us some more of that, Mrs Thatcher.
Mr Fraser waited 5 hours before coming out to tearfully concede and also to quit as party leader.
I therefore take total responsibility for the defeat of the government, and I would like to thank all my colleagues and the Liberal Party right around the country for the support they've given, not just over recent weeks, but over the last 7 years.
Even after his visit to Nicaragua, the most difficult part of the Pope's 8-nation Central American tour still lies ahead. The government of El Salvador say they've foiled a plot on his life, a further worry for the Pope's aides. But in a quiet interlude today, Pope John Paul said Mass to a huge crowd in Panama, in strict contrast to the gathering in Managua last night that was more a political rally than a religious occasion. John Simpson in London reports.
Throughout his visit to Nicaragua, the leftist junta had challenged the Pope's authority, and his final Mass was interrupted by organised heckling. The banners maintained that there was no contradiction between Christianity and revolution, but the Pope angrily disagreed. He thundered that the Church should obey him and the bishops, not the group of Nicaraguan clergy who support the revolutionary junta. It didn't stop the heckling. The junta's organisation of his visit was so complete that he was in effect outmanoeuvred. The next stop was a different matter altogether. Panama has no ideological conflicts with the Vatican, and there was nothing but enthusiasm here. It provided a quiet interval in a difficult tour.
Well, that's all from the newsroom. Good night.
And now the weather. England and Wales will be dry tomorrow, and although rather cloudy, there'll be some sunny intervals in the more sheltered southern and eastern parts. Scotland and Northern Ireland will be mostly cloudy with a little rain here and there. The rain will be heaviest and most persistent in the north and west of Scotland, whereas southeastern areas may stay mostly dry with some bright intervals. It'll be mild everywhere, but also windy in the north.
It was Nehru, 19 years ago, who said to me, make a film. Don't deify him. That's what we've done in India. He's too great a man to be deified, but make a film about him. He was a man.
On Wednesday at 7:15, Mr. Attenborough and Mr. Gandhi, a unique documentary about the making of the most ambitious British film of the decade, the life story of Mahatma Gandhi.
I think that the role has stretched me beyond my previous limits as an actor, hopefully, and that I won't shrink back to my original shape, be a little bit bigger at the end of it all.
For Richard Attenborough, the filming was the culmination of 18 years of research work.
He walked from the ashram at Sabarmati to the Dundee beach, which is over 200 miles. And when he got here, he symbolically took a piece of crystallized salt that had come from the sea off the shore and held it up and said, "This is yours, it's from the Indian Ocean, let every Indian claim his right to have this salt."
We've had to replace George V's statue, and we're dressing up all the cameramen as Indians, and the production bards, well, most of them are wearing military uniform.
Mr. Attenborough and Mr. Gandhi, the story behind the award-winning film on BBC2 on Wednesday at 7:15. On BBC One now you can see part 2 of Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles. Here on BBC One, our Film International presentation is a French film made in 1977, The Lacemaker. Well, now look at tomorrow night here on BBC2, and at 7:15 The World About Us looks at animal imposters, at animals which for one reason or another pretend to be something which they are not. The news is at 8:05, and then at 8:15 we spend more time with Betjeman, as the poet laureate talks about religion and humour, rhythm and rhyme, and his memories of childhood. At 9:05, live drama from Pebble Mill, Cargo Kings, is accompanied by Stephen Davis. At 9:55, international pro-celebrity golf has Lee Trevino and Jimmy Hill against Severiano Ballesteros and Ronnie Corbett. And then at 10:45, world champion racing driver Kiki Rosberg looks forward to the 1983 Grand Prix season, which begins next weekend. And then at 11:10, the film of the week stars Joanne Woodward in The Effect of Gamma Rays on Man-in-the-Moon Marigolds, Paul Newman's film version of the Pulitzer Prize-winning play. And that's the look of tomorrow night here on BBC2. And it's the end of this night on 2 as well, with a customary reminder that on Radio 2, of course, the music continues through the night, every night. Barry Took's late show's on from now till 2 o'clock, when it's Bill Reynolds and you and the night and the music. So wish you a pleasant night. Wish you, on behalf of everybody here at BBC Television Centre, a very good night. Good night.